All right, Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. This is Brother Wariala, and this is my channel, Rise Up Israel. First and foremost, I would like to give honor and glory unto the Most High God, Yahweh. That is who the world may call God, or Yahweh, or Jehovah, but his real name is Yahweh in the Paleo Hebrew, and I do so in the name of his only begotten Son, who the world will call Jesus Christ, Yeshua, Jesus Christos, but his real name is Yahweh Shai in the Paleo Hebrew, right? And also I'd like to, you know, give everyone a shar, sukkah, happy Feast of Tabernacles, for those of you that are celebrating, and if you're not, we still are in the season of the Feast of Tabernacles. Now, given that we're in this season for it, man. Also in this season to reminding ourselves to take care of our tabernacle. Right now, what is our tabernacle? Our tabernacle is our body. Right now, real quick, when you look up what a tabernacle is, so I can bear with me. All right, tabernacle. It is a mixed or movable habitation, typically of light construction in biblical use. A tent used as a sanctuary of the Ark of the Covenant by the Israelites during the Exodus. A meeting place for worship. Okay. It really just means a tent, right? The word tabernacle is just a tent. So the Feast of Tabernacles is the Feast of Tents, right? The feast that, a time where we dwell in tents, right? And that's the purpose of this high holy day, right? Now, on one fold, it is a time where we remind ourselves of, our time in the wilderness, right? What did our time in the wilderness, what was it for us, right? Real quick. And in Revelation, we could look at scriptures like this. Salakia. Matter of fact, let me go to Jeremiah real quick. The spirit's kind of flowing right now. Bear with me. Salakia. Watch this. This is Jeremiah 2 and it says, "Go and cry in the ears of Jerusalem, saying, Thus saith the Lord, I remember thee, the kindness of thy youth, the love of thine espousals, when thou wentest after me in the wilderness, in a land that was not sown." Right? So this is where we remember our time, the time of our espousals, right? The time of our youth, when we were youthful in the eyes of the Lord, right? The times where we were in the wilderness, right? So the time of the Exodus is a time where the Lord likens unto our youth, right? Now, we keep these things in mind because the Feast of Tabernacles is a reminder of what happened when we were of our times when we were in our youth, right? Let's now this is where we can go to Revelation real quick, chapter 2 and verse 4. Revelation 2 and 4, and it says, "Nevertheless, I have somewhat against thee, because thou hast left thy first love," right? So our first love is our espousal of our youth, meaning the times when we were in the wilderness. We forgot where we once were, and that's why we got to keep in mind and remember the time of our youth, right? Remember therefore from whence thou art fallen, right? Because how do we know when we fell? How do we know when we fall? Is when we read the law. And what do we see in the law? We see the times of our youth. We remember. It's like going back on our history. We remember what it was that led us to fall and going off, and we remember our younger years when we were a young nation and we were beautiful and comely in the eyes of the Lord, right? And that's why it's important to remember, so we can get back to that estate. So it says, "Therefore, remember therefore from whence thou art fallen, and repent, and do the first works, or else I will come unto thee quickly, and will remove thy candlestick out of his place, except thou repent, right? So it's telling us to remember our love, our first love, right? And our first love was the time that we were in the wilderness, right? Now, this is what we have to do now that we're not in the wilderness anymore. We have to create booths and we have to live life as if we were in the wilderness, right? We got to live in our tent. You see what I'm saying? And that should be a reminder of our youth, right? Because what was the purpose of our youth? This is where we can go to Deuteronomy chapter 8, right? What was the purpose of our youth? Let's start at Deuteronomy 8:1. It says, all the commandments which I command thee this day shall ye observe to do, that ye may live and multiply, and go in to possess the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers. And thou shalt remember all the which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart. And this is literally the beginning of a relationship right here, right? When we're in the wilderness, this is where our relationship with the Most High really began to grow, where the Lord led us for 40 years to what? To keep us humble and to prove us and to know what our heart was like. Isn't that what you do when you go into a relationship? When you're starting off a relationship, aren't you learning about the person, seeing what's really on their mind, what their intentions really are? Aren't you proving this person to see if they really love you or not, right? Aren't you? Isn't there some acts of humbling, involved when you start at the beginning of a relationship, right? I don't got to speak in code, but sometimes you got to do that, right? Whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no, right? So again, we see in the scriptures that it's important to prove somebody, right? Real quick. This is Sirach chapter 6 and verse 7. It says, if thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. The Most High God, he had to prove us. He couldn't just give us credit right away. He had to prove us first, right? So as a husband and wife get in a relationship, that's how our relationship was with the Most High, right? So it's important to know that, when we think back on these things, we got to remember what our youth looked like and what our early marriagehood or companionship with the Most High was, right? So it was a time where the Lord, Salakia, it was a time where the Lord went to humble us, prove us, and to know what was on our heart, right? Salakia. Verse 3, and he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna, which thou knowest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Lord doth man live, right? So we see that the Most High God had us do these things, put us through all these things so that we can know to trust him, right? So keep this in mind during the Feast of Tabernacles, that this is a time of humility, right? This is a time where we look back and we're grateful for the wonderful acts of the Most High, where he allowed us to be able to overcome Egypt. You see what I'm saying? We gotta think about that. We gotta keep these things in mind, and it should keep us humble, keep us keeping the Most High's commandments. Showing that the Most High God has always been merciful and compassionate on us in our life.